Whoa, check out this beauty. Oh, man, it is the Greg LeMond Zurich Classic. And check out rough wheels. Yeah, I think this is like a 2001, 2002-ish. I'll have the actual dates underneath, full Ultegra componentry. But this bike has been used and there's need some parts to be replaced. This is in for a tune-up and we're looking at maybe a whole drivetrain replacement, cassette, chain rings, chain, we'll see. In addition to these Rolf wheels, classic matching blue with decaling, so sweet. But it does have modern parts like your 1/8" headset. You can still get headsets and stems and all that today. Bottom brackets, a 68 shell as well. So hey, even though it's an older one, it's still relevant today. This bike, once it's up to tip-top speed, shape, speed, what have you, it's gonna rock the road like no other. And nothing like the feel of steel, right? Let's dive into this. Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hi, I'm Justin the Guy. Obviously I have a garage shop. Take scary out of used, one bike at a time. If you want to be kept up to date on latest projects and topics, please like and subscribe. Welcome back to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hey, I'm Justin the Guy, and yes, we are gonna dive into this tune-up, which is a pretty awesome bike. Raw wheels. It has like the icon thing before Bontrager became all over Trek, which, you know, I'm not saying is a bad thing. It's just that period piece. In addition to, it's a steel Reynolds 853 steel frame. These things are a beast and they hold up over the decades. I mean, they're just an awesome ride. And in addition to, it's a great geometry for a lot of people who get into road riding. This individual has a great story behind it. He actually owned this bike originally, I believe, gave it to or sold it to a buddy of his, and the buddy basically over the years of riding the heck out of this decided to upgrade himself to another model. So it got gifted back to the original owner, therefore he needs a full tune-up. And yeah, he has another one in which is more of a modern specialized carbon, but he wants to compare how the steel rides to carbon once I get them both all fine-tuned. So that's going to be an interesting story to see on the back end of that. But this needs a lot of work. He brought down some tires for me to install. What other goodies we have? We have bar tape. You know, got some profile bars we're putting on there. A new saddle because, you know, saddles be comfy. And some extra tubes. And I got a chain here that we're probably going to have to install, knowing that one is stretched. And I found some chain rings if these chain rings don't work out. I do have a bin of 9-speed cassettes, 6500s that if we need to replace that, we can probably put it more vintage. In addition to these little head caps here, he wants some nicer ones put on. These things are just aesthetic and they tend to break like all the time. So anyway, I have a little bag of goodies of some 3D printed ones that I had made up to replace these just for specifically this. And I put a little glitter on them, which is kind of nice. You know, who doesn't like glitter? Well, anyway, maybe some people don't, but it has a little of its own sparkle to it, let's put it that way. But it matches pretty much any bike. And going into this, it does need a good cleaning. So, and we're probably going to be replacing majority of the cables and housing. Given the good old once over, I'll do some frame detailing in addition to add some ceramic coating to the frame to protect that steel frame and from any other contaminants and so forth, and probably do it to the wheels as well to make it a little more robust and shedding and keep its livelihood as long as it can. Keep riding and riding. Bikes like this, if you can find one in this, you know, even it might be in a little rough condition, as long as the frame and fork is pretty solid and the wheels, rest of the componentry is really not that much of a lift for price-wise. But you got to be careful. If you take it to a bike shop, they're going to just be looking at new, new catalogs, what's going to be retrofit there. But if you're savvy enough to look up the model numbers of the 6500 Ultegra componentry from Shimano, you'll find a whole bunch of them on eBay, from shifters to brakes to cranksets to derailleurs. They're all over the place there. There's companies that are out there. That's all they specifically do is have parts that they're refurbished and for sale. I have usually a little surplus myself of just byproduct of what I do up there as well. So, you know, if you're really just, you know, like these bikes and you know how to look up eBay and look up the model number, 6500, for example, Ultegra, this vintage Ultegra, they made it for about 7 years. It's a 6500 series. So the shifters is going to start with a ST-6500 or 6510 will be the model of these shifters. The bottom brackets, it's like FC, F as in Frank, C, 6500 or 6503. You can just, you know, when you type in crankset 6500, you'll see those model numbers pop up. That'd be the crankset. RD is rear derailleur. These are the short cage on the short, you know, the double. That's the only thing you have to kind of be watching out for. If you have a triple crankset, you need a long cage rear derailleur. I think that's a ST or RD 6510 or 6503. I'd have to double check that. But the 6500 would be the double. And same thing for the front derailleurs. There's specific front derailleurs that are triple and doubles. 6500 and 6503 would be the triple version of it. And the BR for brakes is the BR 6500. If you want to look at those, I'll have numbers below in the comment, or not the comments, but in the description to help you identify those particular Ultegra componentry. And once you become a little savvy, then it's like, oh, my rear derailleur's blown up. Hold on, let me go buy one. That way you can match the vintage of it. Same thing with the shifters. They're going to be a little more expensive, but you can still find those out there in addition to the cranks and the brakes. In any case, get off my soapbox of refurbishing, but the wheels on this are pretty awesome. This is where the Bontrager came with a paired spoke system, which was copied by Shimano as well and the various other brands. Fast forward 20 years later, they went back to, you know, radial lace or more traditional double cross, triple cross spoke designs, and kind of ditched the paired spoke systems. You know, it's just innovations and change. Anyway, these are still pretty cool. What I like about the Vector Cromps from Rolf, they color coded some of their bikes, which was pretty cool, and just gave, you know, a little more vintage. And this one actually had pretty matching color pedals too. Well, anyway. Yeah, without further ado, I'm going to need to start stripping this down, put in a solvent cleaner, clean all these parts, and kind of reassess what we need to do. When I have the parts cooking, I usually true the wheels, clean and true the wheels in addition, and start detailing the frame. So there's a rigmarole that I usually do. Yeah, the script is basically what I do every day when I do a tune-up. Anyway, here we go. Dive. So get the rear wheel off. You want to knock it down to the small cog in the back. That way you can get to the brake caliper here and open it up. And this way the wheel will drop out once you release the quick release. This guy has a flat, but he's getting new tires, so I'm not too worried about that. That drops off just like so. We'll be taking the cassette off and cleaning the cassette and seeing if I can get it to be back to life. But if you notice here, it does have the original Rolf skewers. And I'm not sure if it's this one. Ooh, there's a little squeak. This must be the stainless steel. They had a titanium spindle version. It looks kind of tie. Well, after we clean these up, we can definitely tell. Take the chain off. I'm just going to break it real quick. So I'm just going to be using it for matching the length. I know the chain is stretched, so we're not going to fuss with that. Get that chain out, like so. Cut me some cables. So I am definitely going to be doing the cables and the housing on this guy for sure. And save that housing length for later just to cross-reference it. And we are going to, got some dirtiness there. So what I like to do on these guys, I mean, you can see how caked up that derailleur is. So get a trash can and put it underneath there. Then that way you can peel off that Teflon buildup. It's from usually a lube. Just gets put on and on and on. You can use a different lube that has less Teflon buildup or wax buildup. Or if you go to the actual hot wax system, you will not have this problem. But it looks like that rear jockey pulley is good. Bottom one, and sticky stuff. See, my gloves just turn instantly black. You want to scrape this stuff off before you proceed to put it in an ultrasonic cleaner or degrease it, because you're just going to need to get this off anyway. And it's really hard for that stuff to really break through. But it will clean up all those little bits inside there. So these don't have replaceable dropouts, so you have to be pretty mindful on these bikes to make sure this doesn't get compromised. But it is steel, therefore they could be bent a little bit easier back into place versus aluminum. So yeah, we definitely need to clean all those boogered up. Yeah, get the cable out of the way, and this particular derailleur. The stamp and number stamp will be back here. Yeah, it says FD front derailleur 6500. So that's the model of it. On the front derailleurs, you got to be mindful. This is a band clamp. Some are braze-on, which has a clamp that mounts onto the frame, so you can go either or without adapter on those. So before taking the cranks off, I like to take the pedals off if I can. And pedaling forward is the motion to get these things to come off. Pedaling backwards is the tightening direction. They are opposite thread from each other, so keep that in mind when you're working on crank sets and switching out pedals and bottom brackets the same way. So these have self-extracting bolts. So in other words, it loosens up, but then it gets tight again. It gets the outside plate to extract that crank arm off the bottom bracket. It's a 3-piece, one on each side. And before taking it off all the way, I like to get the other side down just because of leverage. Because if you get it and take it off all the way, then you lose that leverage, and then it makes it a little more difficult. So we're going to try to clean all of that up like so. And this way, you only really can tell the bottom bracket how compromised or smoothness it is. This one's really smooth actually. But when you take the crankset off, then you can really kind of tell if it's grindy or too spinny. If it's too smooth, that means it's probably bad too. So there we go. Now we got those exposed here, so I can actually get into it and start doing some of that magic. Take off this rear brake, kind of working our way from back to front. No internal routing cables to worry about, so I can just go freely and pull all these out without any kind of flinching. This internal routing, you go, ooh, I dropped the cable in there. Then you could be taking hours later to fish it out. Yeah, that's that there. All right, so I will take the bottle cages off. Reason being is that way I want to double check and make sure they are not compromised. Sometimes you get some really heavy things in there and it'll boogered up the threads and so forth. In addition to that, it gives me a chance to cleaning up the bolts. Also opens up the frame so I can actually get into the frame and clean it up a little bit better, easier with detailing and so forth. And LeMond frames, they have a very thin paint, so it's not much I can do for correction, but I can definitely do things to clean it up and add polishing to it to protect the frame and decals that are still there. But it doesn't have a thick paint job like a Klein or some of the other ones with a very deep clear coat. These are kind of a nice pewter looking, titanium looking, I don't think they're titanium, but they're pewter looking cages. So he actually still uses the flight deck from Shimano, which is kind of cool. So the bars that we have, the aero bars, have a mount for them. So I got to be careful when I take this off. I don't cut into any of the cabling because I don't think it'll be very easy to find that computer. But I'm going to take the skewer out on the front here and check that hub. And yeah, it's still pretty good. Still pretty smooth. Yeah, this might be a 99. Not sure. I'll have to double check it. I'll look it up. As the mounts up high, that's what kind of throws me a little bit on that. That's right, he doesn't want the mirror, so we can take that off too. Grind, 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 grind. That's dirt. You see a poof of dirt come out of there? Yeah, boy. Yeah, we'll get this all cleaned up. It has a lot of the surface dirtiness, which gets through all this too. And these, if I believe, are just unscrew kind of jabs, and you just slide them out. Just in case if he wants to save it. Ooh. Ooh. That's a number tucked in. Feels kind of thick. I mean, the grips. I wonder if it got doubled up. Meaning somebody decided to put 2 layers of tape on it. Yeah, we'll have to inspect that. But I will take these shifters and put them in the ultrasonic cleaner to kind of clean up that shifting. Yeah, it doesn't seem it wants to be engaging in all of them right now. So either the grease got gunked up in there, original manufacturer grease. Sometimes it does. So yeah, I'm having a hard time getting that cable out. So we'll be diving into that, and also removing these covers, getting some new ones on there. So they're not Shimano, but they'll at least look prettier than what they are now. Yeah, that one seems to be more active. Yeah, that's definitely not catching. Yeah, we will see if we can get this thing to come back to life. Ooh, that's super, super, super duper sticky. So I got the cable right there I gotta watch out for. See that? Right there. That's why I don't want to compromise that. Ugh. Nope, it's just a thick pad. Oh, I see. Has these little inserts in the back and front. Well, the cable's in the front. Kind of give you that more ergo feel. This bar was designed to do cables on the back part, which at the time was Campanoli had its cable routing through the handlebar. They were innovative in shifters for the late 90s and early 2000s. It kind of gave Shimano a run for the money. You see how light and dark? That's how disgusting bar tape can get. It's like wearing somebody else's socks. Don't want to do it, especially. Get that plug out. Boop. And there we go. Now the shifter is free. I can get it to come off. Oh, see that? There's that rust. That definitely needs to be replaced. Yeah, that happens. And that rust portion is in this back housing piece, which inhibits the braking to run smooth. So replacing that is going to make the braking a heck of a lot more responsive and better overall. You, boy, you are something. See oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to see the wires attached to the shifters, and when you shift, so you got to be mindful of the cables because there's buttons to go through the functions like speed, max speed, and all that. In addition to, it tells the computer which gear you're in, so it has a little gear indicator, which is kind of cool. I'm surprised it didn't take off as much, but yeah, it is what it is. The newer ones probably have something like that, like an app, but you know, a lot of added extra stuff. Sometimes it's better just to let go of all that tech and just go for a ride and forget about it. You know, if you're overly concerned about your wattages, you might be a little over concerned of how obsessed you are riding. I'm just kidding. It's a tool like everything else. Some people like to look at those matrix. I love, you know, the data points myself. I'm a data geek as well. So that being said, that reminds me, these plates will have to be taken off first on the inside here before I can take the shifter off. That is something I forgot about on these guys, or how old they are. Dating myself. Come on, cable. Oh, there you go. So that's been in there a while. It has a little kink here. That's from the bend of the angle constantly. You definitely want to replace the rear one because that one has more. So the front one, I cut it short anyway. I'm going to replace that. But over time, that bending back and forth will make this fray right at the head, which is a booger, but if it snaps and you're like picking and fishing out frayed pieces of housing, you know, for a couple bucks or $5 even for a cable, well worth the nightmare of not having to deal with all that at a later time. So, okay, I need to change into my old man glasses. Yep. Here we go. Proper tool for the proper job. Job for the proper tool. Okay, so we're looking. Look at a close up on this, so you can see what I'm talking about. I think there's 2 screws. Yeah, there's 2 screws. See it there and there. Don't drop these screws. They hit the floor, you'll never find it again. It's one of those. It finds a portal to a parallel universe where they don't need these screws, but for some reason they have a abundance of them. So there's one. That's how small they are. This one you have to kind of dig the cable back, or the hood back to get to it. And then when you feel it give, kind of got that. Okay, so this guy might need a little help of being popped out. You can see it there. Because it's been in there for a long time. So I'm starting to lose my mind there, like it's been so long. So you got these 4 contact points here. You have these 4 contact points here. They slide into the back plate of this guy here, which disconnects the shifter itself. So typically these guys just live in here with a plate, temporary plate over them. But now since it's free, we can proceed to take the shifter off. And this takes a 5mm opposite side. And then you lock. Yeah, there we go. there you go. So see that little wire thingy majigger. So to kind of protect that, I'm just going to cover it up while I put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. It's fine in an ultrasonic cleaner. It's just, I just need to get all this stuff cleaned up. And yeah, there's a lot of different things. And when I replace the plate, there's going to be this another micro screw right here that we're going to take off, which actually we can take that off right now. And it's another screw that if it hits the floor, it will disappear for eternity. So there it is. Put that with the plate, and this is just the remainder of that plastic piece. And all this is for aesthetics. Make it look cute. All right, we'll dive into the other side. Okay, now you see here, this is supposed to be wedged in the base of this, where the other one wasn't. That's what I was expecting, and kind of threw me for a little loop. So I'm gonna take this off here. All right, so since we have this all disassembled, I can actually clean the frame. I'll replace these housing or cable housing when it comes to time, but I really want to give the frame a good detailing, get all this black stuff away. Then we're going to clean the drivetrain, get all that gunk off of it and true the wheels. So, and replace the bits that he wanted to be replaced. Also, I do provide fittings when they're done with the tune-up and come to pick it up. I can do those adjustments to saddle height of the new saddle and everything with the new tape. So we'll see what we can do from there, and let's just continue to clean parts. Ooh, boy. We can get that cleaned up. All right, yeah, it feels pretty smooth. Sounds pretty good too. Yep, we'll tear that apart and give it a good cleaning. So I want to feature one of these things here that I do is pre-treating. I mean, ultrasonic cleaner does really well, but it doesn't clean everything super clean. So what we want to do is pre-treat some of this. I mean, it'll get a lot of the just surface grime right off, so that'll take care of that. But for the sticky, really sticky stuff, we want to either take a screwdriver or a pokey to get some of that gunk off, in addition to, you know, it's really dirty in here. Well, I've been using a certain kind of degreaser, which is pretty aggressive, and I wanted to try something less aggressive. So with the shifters, we're going to set those aside. But I wanted to see, from lithium, they just released a grime away, which is a degreaser, which is used in auto detailing. But I wanted to see how it worked on componentry. Basically, you put it on and let it sit for a minute or two, and this way it might just cut through some of that grease and grime from road and all of that. So when we put it in the ultrasonic cleaner, it kind of sheds it all away. The instructions how to do it, like on your car, you spray it on there, scrub it with a brush if need be, and rinse it with water. So pretty straightforward technique. So we're going to take a look and see how it cuts away prior to ultrasonic cleaning. So if you don't have an ultrasonic cleaner, maybe using something like this could really kind of get rid of a lot of this extra gunk that we're experiencing right here, right? So, oh boy, yeah, we can give that a try. See if it cuts through that thick of buildup. Take a look. Try it on the front derailleur too. So, that being said, take a little brush and see what kind of magic we have. Wow, that's actually cutting through pretty good. Yeah. And again, this is just, you know, for me, this is something that's really nice to do a pre-treatment. I'm getting into all this, but it'd be nice if we had a degreaser that you can use. That would help there too. And for me, it's like ultrasonic cleaning. I don't care how good a degreaser you have, it's not gonna cut away all the stuff unless you put it in a solvent tank, old school solvent tank, or ultrasonic cleaner. It's just, that's what the game changer is. But if we can get it to, see how it just pools up, man. How dirty that is. Wow. So if it takes care of 90% of the stuff, or even half of the stuff before you put it in ultrasonic cleaner or ahead, big time. All right, so pre-treated that. Let's get in the tank and see what the outcome is. Actually, I'm gonna rinse these off under hot water and see how shiny they are right off the bat. Well, with just grime away, that really took out a lot of the gunk. I mean, I could almost go without ultrasonic cleaning these. This, on the other hand, this stuff is way too thick. That usually needs a couple soakings, especially this, where it gets built up. And also to get in all these little knit and grindy parts. Yeah, it needs a lot more help than, I mean, it's definitely cutting it for sure, but it's nothing that can replace the ultrasonic cleaning stripping of that. Plus, I'm going to take these jockey pulleys apart and start cutting into it. Here we have clean parts. I think I'm going to be using these chain rings, because these have a little bit of shark teeth on the downstroke, so that's a good chance that they're going to skip. Brakes came out really clean, and you can tell that I need to file the pads down a little bit, but there's still a lot of meat left on them. Those will come up really good. Cages are nice. Jockey pulleys are really good. Just need to put that back together. The shifter did come back to life after the ultrasonic cleaners, so that's a win. We'll be adding new bar tape and a saddle. And look at those wheels. Yeah, the cassette. Amazing how clean that cassette came out, right? Yeah, well, you'll see a video of the wheels, just specifically what I do by cleaning, truing, and installing tires and cassette and so forth. You check that in one of my other videos, and bam, here's the frame. Detailed, high gloss shine. Yeah, that's what we're talking about when you add ceramic slam details. Also, I made a separate video of detailing this specific frame on how do I get it to be this beautiful considering the age. Well, in any case, let's recap. So this is one of those high-level tune-ups where it's almost overhaul in a sense that I'm going to be replacing cables and housing. I got new tubes and tires on there as per the customer's request. I'm going to do componentry, the drivetrain clean, put all back together, including the shifters, and getting everything restrung up, as well as the flight deck computer, where that is definitely a beauty of ages of gone past, whatever. In any case, the bottom bracket's good on this guy. I don't think besides the chain rings on this, I'll have to check the cassette though under load. But since that is not the original cassette, it's been swapped out. So that cassette still might be lively with the new chain. Yeah, that'll be a new chain. Also going to be adding some aero bars, and I'm going to be moving that flight deck computer onto this little nubbin. So when you're down in this position, you can see the computer, that kind of thing. So yeah, still a lot left to do on this. I mean, relatively, but I've already poured about 2/3 of it. The wheels are done, the frame is ready to go, the parts are clean. It's basically reassemble. And with my skill set and perspective, that's still about an hour wrapping the bars too. About an hour, hour and a half time left of putting this back together. So if I would say how much time I had that I put into this bike, taking you along with the journey, that adds a little bit of time too. Yeah, I probably somewhere around 5-6 hours easily that I put into this. 4 hours today so far. 2 hours yesterday. Actually, that'd be 6 and about another hour. So probably close to 7, like a good 8-hour day on one bike. That is pretty much par for the course for a good shop that does detailed work. When they do an overhaul, that one bike is going to be worked on pretty much a whole shift, maybe into the next following day, because there's so many things you need to do to it, and if you're doing it right, you're going to be taking your time. Therefore, luckily in my position, I used to be a mechanic part-time when I was working at Big Fat Sporting Goods at Lee Cyclery. I was what they call a production mechanic. In other words, you get thrown in the basement for a few hours and you crank out as many as you can, as fast as you can. Well, those days are over for me, thank goodness, because I like to spend some time and I'm not working on a commission on per bike that I do. So in this case, you're getting a better tune-up, a better quality. Look for a shop that does similar type of professionalism. They may cost a little bit more, but then at the end of the day, you pay for what you get, right? Sometimes. So bargains on that. The only times you'll see that is when they're discounting off season, like 50 bucks off a tune-up package and so forth. That's a great time to take advantage of those. 2 reasons. Well, it saves you a little bit of money. Second is usually when they're providing those tune-up packages, they're slower. Therefore, you're going to have a better experience with a tune-up from a mechanic that, guess what? If they're still there in off season, they're one of the better ones. Therefore, they're going to keep them throughout the year. That's the higher quality mechanic, not the seasonal ones. Not to say the seasonal ones are bad, but they're just not as experienced as the full season ones. Just how it is. So off-season tune-ups are the way to go if you're going to try to be that bargain. But yeah, like me, I'm a procrastinator, so it's usually the height of the season and you're like, oh crap, I need to get my bike tuned up. Well, there lies the issue. You'll be paying more and you have the longer wait time. That's just how it goes in the service departments of bike shops pretty much everywhere. In any case, well, thanks for hanging out with me in the journey of I will wrapping this thing up and crank it through. Have some extra pictures after. There's some detailed information below. I hope you learned a little bit about the LeMonds and LeMond Zurich and the detailing and so forth that I put into it and what bike shops do behind the big wall. Service rider to pro mechanic. In any case, thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. I hope you have a wonderful day. It's nice in your neck of the woods. Go for a ride. And please check out these awesome pictures of the final result. Ooh, can't wait to finish it off. Go! Now!